Koça çay da alıyoruz koça. Vaguyanet. Şimdi simbolü gamzadi da bir de Roma şevesundut da hava devlet Roma'nın enerji aldı da მე დავასრულოთ ჩვენი სიმდიდრობიოს დათესვა. სოფელში დავიწყე მუშაობა, რომ ფიზიკურად გადავრჩენილი ვიყავით. სურვილი მქონდა იმის, რომ რაღაცა სიახლე გამეკეთებინა და ამდენ ძიებაში ელკანას მეშვეობით დაუკავშირდი Oxfam's და მივიღე პროექტში მონაწილეობა, სადემონსტრაციო ნაკვეთისზე იყო პროექტი დაახლოებით და კონკურსში გავემარჯვე და გავაკეთეთ ახალი ინოვაციური ბაღი, ინტენსიური ბლის ბაღი. ახალი ტექნოლოგიები რო დანერგონ თქვა წეთოვანი სისტემა. უნდათ ფინანსური მხარდაჭერა. იმედი მქონდა რომ ფინანსური წოდობა მე მექნებოდა. აი მცირე მეურნეობებზე 5000 ლარი რომ აიღო, 10000 ლარი რომ აიღო, არის ძალიან მაღალი პროცენტი. 35% არის წლიური. და გამოვიდივართ რომ აი ვართ ბანკის მუშები რა, ვიღებთ ბანკს, ვაკეთებთ თვითონ ჩვენ საქმეს და მე გაჭირებით ბანკის ვალებს ვიხდეთ.
თვითონ პროექტის დასაწყისშივე საჭიროება მოითხოვა რომ მდგომარეობა შეგვესწავლა რაც შეიძლება დეტალურად. ჩატარდა რამდენიმე კვლევა. პირველი ეს ეხებოდა სასურსათო უსაფრთხოების ზოგად მდგომარეობას ნორმატიულ საკანონმდებლო და მთლიანობაში ეკონომიკასთან მიმართებაში. მეორე ჩატარდა ნუტრიციის ან ჯანსაღყვების მდგომარეობასთან დაკავშირებული კვლევა და მესამე ჩატარდა სპეციფიური კვლევა სასურსათო უსაფრთხოება მთიან რეგიონებში. სოფლად მოსახლეობის ხარჯებში 50% საშუალოდ იკავებს ხარჯი საკვებზე. ეს რაზე მეტყველებს? პირველი ეს მეტყველებს ძალიან დაბალ შემოსავლებზე ერთი და მეორე მეტყველებს თვითონ სურსათის ფასის საკმაოდ არაადეკვატურ სიმაღლეზე. ნუტრიციულმა კვლევამ აჩვენა რომ ესე იგი იმ საჭირო კატეგორიის საკვებიდან რომელიც უნდა მიიღოს ადამიანმა და ეს არის 10 კატეგორიის. აქედან საშუალოდ ჩვენი თანამოქალაქეები წვდებიან მხოლოდ 5-ს. ჩვენი მოსახლეობის რაციონის თითქმის 60% ეფუძნება პურეულს. ეს არის პირდაპირი რისკი იმისა რომ განვითარდეს არაგადამდები დაავადებები, კერძოდ დიაბეტი, გულსილძარღვთა, ჰიპერტონიული და ასე შემდეგ და ასე შემდეგ და ხა რეალურად სხვა სტატისტიკას პარალელურად სამედიცინოს მოვიშველებთ, ხა საქართველოში სიკვდილის მიზეზებს შორის პირველ ადგილზე დგას არაგადამდები დაავადებები, უფრო მეტად გულსილძარღვთა.
ესე იგი არც მარტო ის ყველი მოაგვარებს იმ ყველა ვიტამინებს და არც მარტო ის კარტოფილი, ხომ? ძირითადად საკვები კარტოფილი, ყველი და ლობიო. მაგრამ რასაც ქვია ის სრულფასოვანი კვება ჩვენ მიახლოებულებიც არ ვართ.
ნუტრიციის კვლევამ აჩვენა ძალიან საგანგაშო მონაცემი, რომ ესე იგი წოდომა ჯანსაღ სურსათზე განსაკუთრებულად მწვავეა ბავშვებში. არ ვიცი, რამდენად სათანადოდ კონტროლდება ნუტრიციულ ასპექტში კვება, მაგალითად საჯარო სკოლებში, თუ საბავშვო ბაღებში და ასე შემდეგ, მაგრამ ფაქტია, რომ ავიტამინის შემცველ საკვებზე, ცილებით მდიდარ საკვებზე ბავშვთა რაციონში ისინი გაცილებით ნაკლებ ადგილს იკავებენ, ვიდრე მოზრდილთა რაციონში. მოვიფიქრეთ ასეთი ეგრეთ წოდებული ჯანსაღი სასკოლო საგზლის კონკურსი.
თუ ხართ 13-დან 18 წლამდე სკოლის ასაკის მოსწავლე, შეგიძლია მიიღო მონაწილეობა სამწუთიანი ვიდეო გაკვეთილების კონკურსში სახელწოდებით ჯანსაღი საგზალი სკოლისთვის. მოამზადე საკუთარი ლანჩბოქსი, გამოიყენე ჯანსაღი და ყველასათვის ხელმისაწვდომი ინგრედიენტები და მოიფიქრე მრავალფეროვანი მენიუ. გადაიღე მობილური ტელეფონით ლანჩის მომზადების პროცესი, ატვირთე საკუთარი YouTube-ის არხზე და გამოაგზავნე ლინკი მეილზე.
ჩვენ გვყავს 75 მონაწილე და მათ შორის მხოლოდ 12-ია თბილისიდან. დანარჩენები არიან რეგიონიდან, ესეთი მოშორებული რეგიონებიდან, როგორც მაგალითად თიანი აჭარაა.
ძალიან მოულოდნელი იყო და გამიხარდა.
ჯამურად აი სამი კვლევის საფუძველზე ჩვენ მივაგენით ესეთ მაგიურ წრეს. რას გულისხმობს ეს? პირველი, ეს არის დაბალი შემოსავლები. რომელიც გამოუწვეულია დაბალი მწარმოებლურობით და არაკონკურენტუნარიანობით. ანუ დაბალი მწარმოებლურობა იწვევს დაბალ შემოსავლებს, დაბალი შემოსავლები იწვევს არასაკმარის წვდომას სათანადო საკვებზე, არაკონკურენტუნარიანობა იწვევს იმპორტზე დამოკიდებულებას და შესაბამისად ეს იწვევს სურსათზე მაღალ ფასს. ასე შეგვიძლია წრეში ეს ყველაფერი განვალაგოთ და ვიღებთ ესეთ მაგიურ წრეს, რომლის გარღვევაც აუცილებელია და ამიტომაც ამან გამოიწვია ეს კამპანიური ხასიათის ჩვენი მიდგომები ამ პროექტის ფარგლებში. გასაღები ამ წრის გასარღვევად გახლავთ ადგილობრივი წარმოების ხელშეწყობა. გამომდინარე იქიდან, რომ ადგილობრივი მეწარმეები ძირითადად წარმოდგენილია თითქმის 98% მცირე გლეხობით, აქ საჭიროა აქცენტირება მცირე გლეხობაზე, ანუ სასოფლო-სამეურნეო განვითარების პოტენციალი ეყრდნობა მცირე გლეხობას ამ ქვეყანაში.
ყველი რო გავყიდეთ, მიკატების ვალი დავტოვეთ. წავედით ისე რომ ბაზარში ვეღარ შევედით. და ერთი ორი გავჩერდებით და მაცივარში რაც ის მიკმაროთ. მე უკვე 2 წელიწადია ბაზარზე აღარ ვყოფილი ვარ. ბაზარზე იყო პირდაპირ მწარმოებლის, ანუ გლეხის მასხარა თაგდება. ესე იგი, მიდიხარ, მიგახშენი პროდუქტი, იქვე გართმევენ ეს გადამყიდველები, დგანან ისინი იქვე ყიდიან და მერე გაძლევენ მცირე თანხას რავი რაც არის.
აქ ჩვენ საქმე გვაქვს კიდევ სხვა პრობლემასთან, რაც უკავშირდება საბაზრო ინფრასტრუქტურას. ანუ გლეხმა რომ გამოიტანოს პროდუქტი და სათანადოდ გაყიდოს, პირდაპირ წვდომა დახლთან მას არ აქვს. ის დამოკიდებულია შუამავლებზე. ამიტომ ამ კამპანიის ფარგლებში ჩვენ საპილოტე ხასიათის ინტერვენცია გავაკეთეთ, რომ ჩვენი ბენეფიციარი ფერმერებს მივეცით საშუალება, გავაკეთეთ საბაზრო სეტაპი, ასე ვთქვათ, ბუკიას ბაღში და მივეცით საშუალება, რომ მათ რეალიზება მოეხდინათ ამ პროდუქციის.
მეტი ადგილობრივი პროდუქცია, მეტი მხარდაჭერა მცირე მეურნეობს.
გთხოვთ მოხვიდეთ 26-27 დეკემბერს 11-დან 18 საათამდე ბუკიას ბაღში ფერმერების გამოფენა გაყიდვაზე და მხარი დაუჭიროთ მცირე მეურნეებს.
ესეთი ერთობლივი ხასიათის ბაზრობები კიდევ გაგრძელდება, მაგრამ გზავნილი მთავრობისთვის არის ის, რომ მან ეს განავრცოთ საერთო ეროვნულ დონეზე. მან მოახდინოს ინვესტირება საბაზრო ინფრასტრუქტურაში.
სახელმწიფო ჩემი აზრით შეიძლება რომ აი გლეხებს შეუქმნას კულტურული ადგილი რო გქონდეს ცოტათი ღირსეული და დამამცირებელი კი არა რომ აი მე მაგალითად ვაწარმოე ყველი. მე ჩავიდე და სად გავყიდო არ ვიცი, უნდა მივიყიდო ვიღაცას გადამყიდოს. მოგვცეს პირდაპირ მომხმარებელთან გასვლა. მქონდეს ის სიამოვნება რომ თქვენ მოგყიდოთ.
ჩვენ გვჭირდება საცალო ბაზრობები გლეხებისთვის, გარდა მაგისა ჩვენ გვჭირდება საბითუმო სასაქონლო ბაზრობები. მაგალითად ისეთი ხასიათის პროდუქციისთვის, რომელიც საექსპორტოდ არის გამიზნული, ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია, რომ მთავრობამ დაინახოს, რომ მოსახლეობა სათანადო სიმწვავით აყენებს ამა თუ იმ საკითხს, რაც მის ეკონომიკურ მდგომარეობას ეხება. ჩვენ მოვიფიქრეთ ასეთი რამ, ეს არის ონლაინ პეტიცია, რომელთან შეერთებად შეუძლია ყველა დაინტერესებულ მხარეს. ეს პეტიცია გულისხმობს ზუსტად იმ გზავნილებს, რაზეც ჩვენ ამდენი ხანია ვსაუბრობთ, მცირე გლეხობის მხარდაჭერა.
რას ვეტყვით მთავრობას, მცირე ტექნიკასთან უნდა იყოს ხელმისაწვდომობა. ფინანსებთან უნდა იყოს ხელმისაწვდომობა, რომ ჩვენ მეურნეობას მივხედოთ. კონგრესი დროებით საღამოთი სახლში იქნები.
ფერმერთა კონგრესის საჭიროება გამოიწვია იმ მიზანმა, რომ შექმნილიყო მექანიზმი პირდაპირ დიალოგის ადგილებიდან მთავრობასთან. ანუ ელკანა ჩვენი პარტნიორია აი ამ კუთხით, ფერმერთა კონგრესის ორგანიზების და ჩატარების კუთხით და პროცესი წარმართეთ შემდეგნაირად. ყველაფერი დაიწყო რეგიონალური შეხვედრებით ფერმერებთან.
გამარჯობათ. მოგესალმებით სამცხე-ჯავახეთის ფერმერებს.
მასში მონაწილეობა მიიღო დაახლოებით 2000-მა ფერმერმა. რეგიონალური შეხვედრების მიზანი იყო ის, რომ პირველი განსაზღვრულიყვნენ დელეგატები, მეორე გამოკვეთილი იყო პრობლემების რიგი, რომელსაც საკითხების რიგი, რომელსაც დააყენებდნენ ფერმერები.
ძირითადი თემები იქნება სურსათის უვნებლობის რეფორმის გავლენა მცირე მეურნეებზე, მცირე მეურნეობის ბაზარზე ხელმისაწვდომობა, პრობლემები და პერსპექტივები და მცირე ფერმერთა და კოოპერატივების ხელმისაწვდომობა საინვესტიციო რესურსებზე.
მინდა გახსნილად გამოვაცხადო საქართველოს ფერმერთა მეორე ყრილობა.
როგორ პირდაპირ ისმევს გლეხობისგან, დელეგირებული გლეხობისგან მათი პრობლემატიკის შესახებ და გადაწყვეტის გზებს იმედია, რომ ისინი მოძებნიან ერთად და ჩვენი როლი არის ფასილიტატორის როლია. ჩვენ რეკომენდაცია წარვადგინეთ სოფლის მეურნეობის სამინისტროში, რომ შექმნილიყო სპეციალური სასურსათო უსაფრთხოების პოლიტიკისთვის რეკომენდაციების შემუშავებელი ჯგუფი.
ჩვენ ასე ვთქვათ, მიმართულებებად გავყავით, იმ მიმართულებებს ჩაუღრმავდით, რა თქმა უნდა, ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანია როგორც პროდუქციის არსებობა, ასევე ამ პროდუქციის ხელმისაწვდომობა, ასევე ამ პროდუქციის უღნებლობა. იქ ჩვენ გადავედით ჯანდაცვის სამინისტროს გარკვეულწილად ფუნქციებშიც და იქ ვსაუბრობდით ნუტრიციის კანონზე, ჯანსაღმყობაზე. თემატურად შეიძლება ითქვას, რომ ეს ყველაფერი იქნა გაანალიზებული და დღეს წარმოვადგინეთ დოკუმენტი 20 პუნქტიანი, სადაც უკვე კონკრეტულად ის თემები, რომლებზეც მუშაობდით, ეს ყველაფერი იქნა შიგნით მოთავსებული.
პირველი შემუშავდეს სასურსათო უსაფრთხოების შესახებ კანონი. მეორე მხარე რეკომენდაცია ეხება უწყებათა შორის კოორდინაციას. ანუ სასურსათო უსაფრთხოება ეს არ არის მარტო სოფლის მეურნეობის მიმართულება. მას გააჩნია როგორც სასურსათო ელემენტი სუფთა სახით, ასევე გააჩნია არასასურსათო ელემენტი.
ავიცი მშრობელი გოგო. გენაცვალე შენა, მიდი. ჩვენ ქალებს ხო, საქონლის მოვლა. ოჯახის მოვლა, დალაგება, სტუმრის გაძღოლა, პურის გამოცხობა, ჭამა, ალაგება, სამზარეულო, თუნდაც პროდუქტის მოტანა და პლუს კიდე კარში ბაღში მუშაობა და იმდენად მე უკვე ისინი არიან, შიგნაგანი ჩემ თავზეც გამომიცდია, შინაგანი დისკომფორტი არის რაღაცნაირად, თითქოს აღარ გინდა ეს რაღაც გატეხილმა უკვე დაჯაფულმა, ისა რაღაცა, აი თითქოს ის ენერგია აღარ გაქვს, რომ რაღაცა სიახლე შეიძინო.
ქვეყნისთვის ქალთა არასაკმარის ჩართულობა არის პირდაპირი ეკონომიკური დანაკარგი. რაც ჩვენ გავაკეთეთ ამ კამპანიის ფარგლებში, გავაკეთეთ ის, რომ ის რეკომენდაციები, რომელიც ამ სამუშაო ჯგუფმა გამოიმუშავა, სოფლის მეურნეობის სამინისტროში მოვახდინეთ ამ რეკომენდაციების გენდერულად სენსიტიზირება და ეხლა მიმდინარეობს მუშაობა ისეთ ფორმულირებებზე და მიმართულებებზე, რომ საბოლოოდ დაფიქსირდეს. აქ საუბარია როგორც სოფლის მეურნეობაზე, საუბარია განათლებაზე, ჯანდაცვაზე, დაავადებების კონტროლზე, სერტიფიცირებაზე, ხარისხზე და ასე შემდეგ და ასე შემდეგ. ანუ პრინციპული რეკომენდაცია არის ინტერ-მინისტერიალური კოორდინაცია, რომელშიც მოხდება ამ ყველაფრის თავმოყრა და კოორდინირებულად ამის განხორციელება. ეს მეორე ჯგუფი რეკომენდაციას. მესამე ეხება უშუალოდ წარმოებას. კიდევ ერთხელ, მცირე გლეხობა, მთავარი პოტენციალი, ამდენად ინვესტირება მცირე გლეხობაში, კოოპერატივების მიმართულებით, ასევე სხვადასხვა ხასიათის სუბსიდირების პაკეტების მიმართულებით.
Մենք ապրում ենք Տավուշի մարզիլիչ կազոր համայնքում, ես 3 երեխաներ ունեմ, տղաս 11 տարեկան է, աղջիկներս 8 տարեկան են։ Երեխաներից նախընտրում եմ ուտեցնել էկոլոգիապես մաքուր սնունդ, եթե իհարկե դա հնարավոր է։ Ես ինքս դպրոցում եմ աշխատում, ուսուցչուհի եմ եւ շատ լավ եմ գիտակցում առողջ սննդի կարեւորությունը։ Բայց ցավոք սրտի մեր մոտ շատերը չեն գիտակցում այդ խնդիրը, բացի դրանից չունեն հնարավորություն, որ գնեն առողջ սնունդ եւ իրենց երեխաները սնվեն առողջ եւ մեծանան առողջ։ Oxfam միջազգային կազմակերպության շնորհիվ մեր մոտ Տավուշի մարզիլիչ կազոր համայնքում ստեղծվեց մի փոքրիկ կոոպերատիվ։ Կոոպերատիվ ստեղծելու միտքը մեր բոլոր անդամներինն էր, 12 կանայք ենք այդտեղ աշխատում։ Ցանկացանք, որ միասին համատեղենք, նաև ստեղծենք մեր բերքը, մեր եկամուտը, համախմբվելով 12 հոգով ավելի շատ եկամուտ կստանանք, ավելի հեշտ կկարողանանք ապրանքը իրացնել եւ ավելի հեշտությամբ ամեն խնդիրները կարող ենք լուծել։
Հայաստանում պայմանային անվտանգության եւ արտադրության ուրեմն չափանիշը շատ ցածր է, ասում է 97-ի։ Հայաստանի բնակչության մոտավորապես 40%-ը ապրում են գյուղական վայրերում եւ այդ 40%-ի համար գյուղատնտեսությունը դառնում է հիմնական զբաղմունք եւ եկամուտի աղբյուր։ Այսօր գյուղատնտեսության մեջ զբաղված փոքր ֆերմերները չեն կարողանում ապահովել գյուղատնտեսության արտադրության բարձր մակարդակը, պայմանավորված գյուղական բնակավայրերում բարձր աղքատության, շուկաներում խնդիրների արկայությամբ, գիտելիքների սակավությամբ, գյուղատնտեսական ծառայությունների ցածր հասանելիության եւ բնակլիմայական ռիսկերին, որոնք այսօր շատ մեծ տոկոս են կազմում եւ շատ անգամ բնակլիմայական ոչ բարենպաստ պայմաններով փոքր գյուղացիները կորցնում են մինչեւ 90% իրենց հիմնական բերքի։ Այն դեպքում, երբ գյուղատնտեսության ֆինանսավորումը կազմում է պետական բյուջեի ընդամենը 2.2%, դա շատ ցածր չափանիշ է։
Հայաստանում գյուղացիական տնտեսությունների մեծամասնություն են կազմում մանր ֆերմերային տնտեսությունները։ Ֆերմերների 58.7%-ը կանայք են, դարձնելով այս ոլորտը ամենահավասարակշռվածը գենդերային հավասարության տեսանկյունից։ Սա նշանակում է, որ այս ոլորտի զարգացմամբ կառավարությունը հավասարապես կաջակցի եւ տղամարդկանց եւ կանանց, եւ ինչն ավելի կարեւոր է, այն կբարելավի կանանց տնտեսական վիճակը։ Հայաստանում պարենային անվտանգության հիմնական մարտահրավերը պարենի արտադրության ցածր մակարդակն է, որն էլ հանգեցնում է բարձր գների։ Հայաստանում սպառվող պարենի ավելի քան 50%-ը ներկրվում է։ Հայաստանում բնակչությունը իր եկամտի 64%-ը ծախսում է սննդի վրա։ 2011 թվականին Հայաստան է ներկրվել 4.1 միլիարդ ԱՄՆ դոլարին համարժեք սննդամթերք։ 2015 թվականի ընթացքում տրամադրվել է 70,000 գյուղատնտեսական վարկ ընդհանուր 64 միլիարդ Հայաստանի Հանրապետության դրամի չափով, մոտ 133 միլիոն ԱՄՆ դոլար։ Գյուղատնտեսական վարկի միջին չափը 2015 թվականին կազմել է 700,000 Հայաստանի Հանրապետության դրամ, մոտ 1460 ԱՄՆ դոլար։ 2014 թվականին բնակչության 60.2%-ը սպառում էր օրական 2100 կիլոկալորիայից պակաս սնունդ, մինչդեռ բնակչության 15%-ի օրական սննդակարգի 70%-ը բաղկացած է հացից եւ կարտոֆիլից։ 2012 թվականին Հայաստանում արտադրված հացահատիկը բավարարել է սպառման պահանջարկի 32.9%-ը, 2011 թվականին 36.5%-ի համեմատությամբ։ Պարենի զգալի մասը արտադրվում է մանր ֆերմերային տնտեսություններում եւ սա կարեւոր գործոն է երկրում պարենային անվտանգության հարցում։
Հայաստանում բավականին մեծ խնդիրներ են փոքր ֆերմերները։ Խնդիրը կայանում է նրանում, որ հողակտորները բավականին փոքր են եւ բնականաբար եկամուտը նույնպես քիչ է լինում, ինչպես նաեւ մենք ունենք սուբսիդավորման խնդիր, որը որ եթե հնարավոր է Հայաստանի Հանրապետության կառավարությունը կարողանա այդ հարցը լուծել, շատ ավելի նպաստավոր կլինի ֆերմերային տնտեսությունների համար։ Կարևոր խնդիր է նաև ռեալիզացիան, այսինքն մեր ապրանքի վաճառելու խնդիրը, որովհետև եթե մենք ունենանք ավելի շատ ապրանք, դա մեծ խնդիր կլինի։ Իմ կարծիքով նաև լավ կլինի լուծել արտերկիր արտահանման խնդիրը, որը նույնպես մեծ եկամուտ կբերի մեր ֆերմային։
Փոքր ֆերմերները ծառացած են լուրջ շուկայական խնդիրների առջև, որոնք ամենաարդիական խնդիրներն են, եւ կառավարությունը պետք է աջակցի նման շուկաների ստեղծման, ինչպես նաեւ խթանի փոքր ֆերմերների արտադրանքի մատչելիությունը դեպի նոր շուկաներ։
Oxfam-ի պարենային անվտանգության ռազմավարության բարելավման ծրագրի շրջանակներում գյուղատնտեսության նախարարության կողմից համատեղ ծրագրեր են իրականացվել սննդի ապահովության, պարենային անվտանգության, սննդի բավարար մակարդակի ապահովման եւ սննդի մատչելիության ապահովման ուղղություններով։ Այդ բաղադրիչները նաև ներկայացված են կայուն գյուղատնտեսության ռազմավարության շրջանակներում, որտեղ մենք էապես ուշադրություն ենք դարձնում բնակլիմայական ռիսկերի, կլիմայի փոփոխության, այլ արտաքին ազդակների մեղման ուղղությամբ, որպեսզի մենք կարողանանք առավել բարենպաստ պայմաններ ստեղծել պարենային անվտանգությունը ապահովելու ուղղությամբ։ Այս ծրագրի շրջանակներում մենք արդեն իրականացրել ենք աշխատանքներ, որպեսզի այն հայեցակարգը եւ ռազմավարությունը, որը պատրաստվել է նախարարության եւ Oxfam-ի կողմից, նաեւ արտացոլի գյուղացիների, գյուղացիական տնտեսությունների, ագրոբիզնեսների եւ ցանկացած կոոպերատիվի խոսքը։ Ծրագրի շրջանակներում իրականացվել են հարցումներ գյուղերում, գյուղացիական տնտեսություններում, որպեսզի մենք հասկանանք այլ որ առանցքային խնդիրներն են առաջացնում մեր գյուղացիների եւ ընդհանուր երկրի պարենային անվտանգության մակարդակի բարելավման ուղղությամբ։ Oxfam-ի հետ համատեղ նաեւ ստեղծվել է եւ գործում է հարթակ, այդ հարթակի շրջանակում մենք նույնպես քննարկում ենք հաճախ սրվող այն հարցերը, որոնք առաջանում են գյուղատնտեսության ոլորտում։
Կարևորելով նոր ռազմավարության հաստատումը, գյուղատնտեսական դաշինքը նամակ ուղերձ է ղրկել Հայաստանի Հանրապետության վարչապետին ռազմավարության նոր նախագիծը արագորեն հաստատելու խնդրանքով։ Այդ նախաձեռնությանը միացել են նաև գյուղատնտեսական կոոպերատիվների անդամ ֆերմերները, որոնց կողմից ստորագրված խնդիրների ուղերձը հանձնվել է Հանրապետության վարչապետին։
Գյուղատնտեսության նոր ռազմավարություն փաստաթղթով մենք ակնկալում ենք, որ աջակցություն կլինի կոոպերատիվներին, այսինքն գյուղնախարարությունը, կառավարությունը կաջակցեն մեզ ավելի ընդլայնել մեր ֆերմերային տնտեսությունը, ինչպես նաև ստեղծել նորանոր շուկաներ։
Առաջին անգամ Oxfam-ը ապահովել է գենդերազգայուն նոր ռազմավարություն, որը մշակվեց գենդերային ուղղորդման եւ գյուղատնտեսական դաշինքի գենդերային աշխատանքային էքսպերտային խումբ ընդգրկվեց։
Դա առաջի փորձն էր երևի հանրապետությունում, երբ մենք փորձեցինք ուղղորդել որևէ սոցիալ-տնտեսական ծրագիր, որովհետեւ հասկացանք, որ ընդհանուր առմամբ կանանց առաջընթացը կախված է նաեւ նրանից, թե ինչ չափով են կանանց հիմնախնդիրները արտացոլվում սոցիալ-տնտեսական ծրագրերում։ Մենք մտանք այն աշխատանքային խմբի մեջ, որը Oxfam-ի նախաձեռնությամբ աշխատում էր գյուղատնտեսության զարգացման ռազմավարական ծրագրի վրա։ Եվ այստեղ մենք նույնպես փորձեցինք գենդերային զգայուն դարձնել այս ծրագիրը, այնտեղ մտան բավականին նորարարական մոտեցումներ, այդ թվում եւ պարենային անվտանգության մասով եւ գենդերային կոմպոնենտի մասով, որը մինչ այդ չկար։
Կնոջ գործը բավականին դժվար է եւ հատկապես մեր պայմաններում բնականաբար ապրելով գյուղում շատ բաներից մենք հետ ենք մնում եւ վերջերս կանանց միջազգային օրը մարտի 8-ը նշեցինք Oxfam միջազգային կազմակերպության հետ շատ բարձր մակարդակով, շատ լավ մթնոլորտում եւ գեղագիտական հաճույք ստացանք, եւ ծաղիկներ ստացանք, եւ նվերներ ստացանք եւ շատ բարձր տրամադրության վերադարձանք եւ ես կցանկանամ, որ այդպիսի միջոցառումները շատ լինեն, որպեսզի մեր հանրապետությունում կինը միշտ իրենց զգա գնահատված, սիրված եւ իր տեղը միշտ զգա եւ ընտանիքում եւ պետությունում եւ շրջապատում։
Իրական նպատակը մարդն է, իրական նպատակը այն կանայք են, ովքեր որ կօգտվեն այդ ծրագրերի իրականացումից։ Մենք գրում էինք նրանց մասին, մենք քարոզում էինք իրենց փորձը, մենք փորձում էինք նաև լսելի դարձնել նրանց ձայնը հասարակության ավելի լայն շրջանակների համար։
Մենք պետք է նաև ընդգծենք, որ պարենային անվտանգության հարցը միայն գյուղատնտեսության նախարարության խնդիրը չէ, այլև նրան կան մի շարք պետական կառույցներ, որոնք զբաղվում են պարենային անվտանգության ապահովման հարցերով։ Այսպիսով նաև Oxfam-ի ձևաչափը մեզ հնարավորություն է տվել, որ մենք ավելի արդյունավետ այլ պետական մարմինների առողջապահության, բնապահպանության, մի շարք այլ մարմինների հետ համատեղ աշխատենք, որպեսզի ռազմավարությունը լինի բազմաբովանդակ եւ բազմակողմանի։
Մենք ստորագրեցինք հուշագիր առողջապահության նախարարության, Save the Children կազմակերպության եւ Oxfam հայաստանյան գրասենյակի միջև համագործակցության
վերաբերյալ։
Ուշագրի հիմնական նպատակները ուժեղացված համագործակցություն ստեղծելն է եւ դեռահասների առողջ ապրելակերպի ձևավորման հետ կապված խնդիրների լուծումը համատեղ ջանքերով։ Սա շատ կարևոր է մեզ համար, որովհետեւ առողջապահության նախարարությունը որպես պետական կարգավորող, պետական կառույց, քաղաքականություն մշակող մարմին, ինքը իհարկե ունի իր մոտեցումները, իր որոշումները պետական քաղաքականության ուղղությունների վերաբերյալ, բայց դրա իրականացման ժամանակ շատ կարևոր է հասարակական քաղաքացիական հասարակության մասնակցությունը այս գործընթացներին, անդադ մոնիտորինգ իրականացման, հետազոտությունների իրականացման, դրանք տարածման, փորձի ուսումնասիրության եւ իհարկե դա ամեն ինչ պետք է տեղի ունենա համատեղ ջանքերով առողջապահության նախարարության հետ միասին, մոր եւ մանկան դաշինքի եւ Oxfam կազմակերպության հայաստանյան գրասենյակի հետ համատեղ։
Սնուցումը մարմնի սննդային պահանջին համապատասխան սննդի ընդունումն է։ Առողջ սնուցումը համարժեք լավ հավասարակշռված սննդակարգն է պարբերական ֆիզիկական ակտիվության հետ միասին։ Միկրո եւ մակրո տարերի պակասով պայմանավորված վատ սնուցումը կարող է հանգեցնել դիմադրողականության անկմանը, հիվանդությունների ռիսկի մեծացմանը, ֆիզիկական եւ մտավոր զարգացման թուլացմանը եւ արտադրողականության նվազմանը։ 2014 թվականին Հայաստանի բնակչության 60.2%-ը սպառել է օրական 2100 կիլոկալորիայից պակաս սնունդ, 2414 կկալ օր ազգային ստանդարտի համեմատությամբ։ Բնակչության 15%-ի դեպքում օգտագործված կարտոֆիլն ու հացը կազմում են նրանց սննդակարգի 70%-ը։ 2010 թվականին ժողովրդագրական եւ առողջության հետազոտության համաձայն մինչեւ 5 տարեկան երեխաների 19%-ը թերաճ է, 8%-ը ծայրահեղ թերաճ։ Երեխաների թերաճության ամենաբարձր տոկոսը գրանցվել է Սյունիքում՝ 37%։ Երեխաների 15%-ը գերաճ է, այսինքն յուրաքանչյուր 5 երեխայից մեկը քաշի ավելցուկ ունի։ Հայաստանում ոչ վարակիչ հիվանդությունների ցուցանիշը շարունակում է աճել։ Այսպիսի հիվանդությունները մինչև 5 տարեկան երեխաների եւ 15-ից 49 տարեկան անձանց մոտ մեծապես պայմանավորված են անառողջ սնուցմամբ եւ օդի աղտոտվածությամբ։ Սնուցման եւ հատկապես երեխաների սնուցման քաղաքականությունը եւ ռազմավարություններն ունեն վերահսկողության եւ մշտադիտարկման թույլ մեխանիզմներ։
Առողջ սնուցումը եւ առողջ ապրելակերպը բնակչության մեծ խնդիրներից է։ Այդ նպատակով նախատեսում ենք մի շարք իրազեկման միջոցառումներ հասարակության խոցելի խմբերում, հատկապես դպրոցահասակ երեխաների շրջանում։ Վերջերս անցկացվեց առողջ սնուցում բաց դաս Լճկաձոր համայնքի դպրոցում։
Oxfam միջազգային կազմակերպության աջակցությամբ մենք մեր դպրոցում անցկացրեցինք առողջ լանչ միջոցառումը, որը վիկտորինայի ձևով անցկացվեց։ Իմ նպատակն, ինչպես նաև իմ գործընկերների նպատակն էր մեր մատաղ սերնդին բացատրել, թե որն է առողջ սնունդը։ Բացի դրանից տրված էին մթերքներ եւ երեխաները պետք է կարողանային ընտրել, թե որ մթերքն է առողջարար, որն է ոչ առողջարար եւ ինչու հենց դա ընտրեցին։ Բավականին հետաքրքիր անցավ եւ ինձ թվում է դա երեխաները դեռ երկար կհիշեն ու կկիրառեն իրենց կյանքում։
We really wanted to show this to you because for those of you that don't have the opportunity to go to the field and see what the reality is, and also really to give you a mapping. I mean, food security and nutrition is really so complex and there's so many pieces of the puzzle to it. So we did try to put that into a video so that you get a sense of what it is that we're working with here with, you know, farmers' representation, civil society and government. So I will stop here. A lot of the information that's in this video basically leads into the next discussion panel. As I said, it will be on healthy nutrition system. So we'll be looking at nutrition issues, strategies and policy recommendations, diversified food production, and looking at cooperation mechanisms. So I would like, without further delay, to invite the moderator, Ms. Nino Edilashvili, to come and lead this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone, distinguished guests. I'm very pleased to be moderating this panel today. I'm Nino Edilashvili, Food Security Project Officer for Oxfam. And I would like to kickstart this discussion panel by a very famous and very ancient saying, "You are what you eat." So this is very logical to continue our panel on nutrition, which is again very logical continuation of the previous panel, which was talking about the food security strategies. So what is the aim of food security strategies if not the nutrition? So nutrition is the ultimate outcome of each and every food security policy intervention that the government is implementing or what we are trying to voice out as part of our advocacy initiatives. Today we will have a very important and very diverse panel as well. And we will be tackling two very important questions. Why nutrition is important for our lives, for our health, for our well-being, and how agriculture can be a key to better nutrition outcomes as we go on to implement our various food security strategies. So with this, I will not go far into details of the discussion panel myself. I will leave up these details to the panel participants. We have very interesting panel, as I said, and I would like to now call upon the panel participants, and please welcome our distinguished guests. Dr. Kamiljon Akramov, please. Dr. Akramov is the Research Fellow of International Food Policy Research Institute. Mr. Hovsep Hovnasian, Head of the Department of Hygiene, Radial and Chemical Safety of the National Disease Control Center, who represents the Ministry of Health of Armenia. Ms. Tamar Manjavidze, nutrition expert and the lead author of the nationwide nutrition research conducted by Oxfam. Mr. Robinson Tsiklauri, Chief Specialist of National Disease Control Center of Georgia, and Mr. Sasha Grauman, UNICEF representative. Thank you very much. Now let me allow to hand over the speech to Dr. Kamiljon Akramov, who will be talking about very interesting linkages between the agriculture and nutrition, which might seem a bit isolated concepts, but trust me, they do really relate very well together. So Mr. Akramov, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be here today, and I would like to thank Oxfam International and the EU for inviting me to this very important conference, and I would like also to thank our colleagues from Georgia for their hospitality. And so, before okay, yeah, please. So before talking about agriculture and nutrition linkages, I would like to start with the nutrition problem. And so what malnutrition looks like. This is actually from very fresh Global Nutrition Report 2016, which was launched, launched yesterday in the 5 different cities around the world, including IFPRI headquarters in Washington. So when we talk about malnutrition, we talk about child stunting, child wasting, child overweight, and adult overweight and obesity. So if you look at the child stunting, about 159 million children around the world are stunted. This is actually about 23-24% of all children. And so this is a marker of chronic malnutrition. So when we talk about malnutrition, we also talk about macronutrient deficiency, and about 2 million people around the world suffer from macronutrient deficiency, and so on. Please, can we go to the next slide? And so whichever way you look at the world, malnutrition affects every country. Wherever you are in Europe, Latin America, Africa, Asia, or maybe countries very rich, maybe countries very poor, but the problem of malnutrition affects every country around the world. So some countries suffer from undernutrition, other countries suffer from overnutrition. So can we go to the next? So in next few slides, I'd like to give some comparative perspective to this malnutrition, especially stunting and wasting and adult overweight and obesity issues in this region, putting into perspective Armenia and Georgia with the other countries in the post-Soviet world. So you can see countries in this region achieved significant progress in terms of reducing acute malnutrition, child stunting. Only one country, Tajikistan, still faces relatively or significantly high levels of child stunting. So can we go next? However, many countries in this region still face higher levels of chronic undernutrition, which is actually child stunting. You can see Armenia, Tajikistan, even countries like Kazakhstan, where per capita income is quite high, still face relatively high levels of chronic undernutrition. Please, can we go to the next one? So another problem these countries are facing is adult overweight. In nutrition literature, we call it is actually a double burden of malnutrition or multiple burdens of malnutrition. So you can see these countries are facing increasing and higher levels of adult overweight and obesity. So this is mostly overweight. Obesity is not that high, but it's increasing. So then the question is why we need to invest in improving nutrition. So first, nutrition is basic human rights. People need to eat healthy food, and this is very important. But also nutrition, besides human rights, it has very important human and economic implications. First, when we talk about child malnutrition, so about close to half, about 45% of child morbidity and mortality related to poor nutrition. So also chronic malnutrition, which is measured by child stunting, is very important for cognitive development and physical development, because if you miss in the first 1,000 years of child, this stunting becomes very important, and catch up becomes very difficult later part of the child's life. So another important aspect is actually intergenerational equity. So when we have malnourished parents, they likely to have malnourished children, and this will go on. So another important aspect is economic benefits. When we talk about human costs and other things, maybe that's not very striking, although that's already very important. But when we talk about investing in nutrition, we also need to talk about economic benefits. So can we go to the next slide? Next one. So research shows that economics is also convincing. So we get actually $16 back for every dollar invested in nutrition programs. This is actually huge return, and this is based on 30-year compound rate of interest of 10%. Actually, you can invest to any industry, any sector, any, let's say, develop any industrial sector or some other things, but you cannot have a higher return than this one. So this is based on the peer-reviewed research results. So can we go to the next? So if nutrition is so important for human life, for just economic benefits is so huge, then what can we do to improve nutrition stats? As people mentioned, actually experts mentioned this morning, malnutrition is a multi-dimensional problem that requires multi-sectoral interventions. Also, in today's, in the morning, actually, we heard about this nutrition-specific interventions and nutrition-sensitive interventions. And so Global Nutrition Report 2015 lists 12 proven interventions that works actually. And that's also based on the Lancet Child and Maternal Nutrition series. Probably you heard about Lancet, which is actually a very highly respected public health and medical journal. So now actually I will focus more about nutrition-specific, nutrition-sensitive interventions and specifically on agriculture. So when we talk about nutrition-sensitive interventions, we talk about actions to leverage development programs and policies for undernutrition and policies that aim to improve food environments to address unhealthy diets. So research from different institutions show, including World Bank and IFPRI, nutrition-sensitive agriculture has great potential in tackling nutrition problems. Can we go to the next one? So I will briefly give economists' perspective, so how agricultural diversity and nutrition can be related. If we take subsistence agriculture, then linkages between agricultural diversity and the nutrition becomes trivial, because households or farm households, they eat whatever they produce. But if there is a market, then this link between agricultural diversity and dietary diversity or nutrition becomes a bit complicated. So farm households may aim to maximize their income by allocating their limited land for different crops. In this process, actually, they deal with addressing risks and returns. So specialization may be very important for higher productivity, higher income, but at the same time, diversification may be important for addressing different risks and also producing different types of food. So farmers will deal with this trade-off between risk and return, which will actually ultimately determine their choice of different crops. Can we go to the next one? And so also farmers' decisions depend on availability of various input seeds, seedlings, and fertilizers, chemicals, and so on. And also existing institutional arrangements will play important role, and transaction costs and market access issues are very important. Thank you. And so this is from pure economist theoretical perspective, and what is the empirical evidence? Actually, can we go to next? In the next slides, actually, I provide results from empirical research, which will try to link agricultural diversity with dietary diversity and nutritional outcomes. So first, it's very difficult to have or to measure nutritional outcomes like as based on anthropometrics like stunting or wasting, but intermediate measure of nutrition outcomes can be dietary diversity. This is actually proven by research from different researchers, including IFPRI researchers. So this research shows that household data diversity is a very important indicator of nutritional outcomes. Can we go to next? So, literature also shows, research also show a strong link between agricultural diversity and dietary diversity, and this actually farmers may when farmers produce different types of food or different types of agricultural produce, they will diversify their risk, and also when they move towards high-value agriculture, their income will increase, and this will help dietary diversity and nutrition outcomes. Can we go to next? And this is research results based from Tajikistan, which I did with a colleague of mine from IFPRI. And so this research also shows agricultural diversity is positively associated with dietary diversity, and dietary diversity in turn is correlated with child nutritional outcomes. So in Tajikistan, farmers tend to grow cotton and wheat. So large portions of agricultural land is allocated for these crops, and in districts where you have this situation, nutritional outcomes, nutritional outcomes look relatively worse than other districts. So also the household's location and access to rural infrastructure seems very important for both dietary diversity and nutritional outcomes. Can we go to? So here, I'd like to make some concluding remarks. So both theoretical and empirical evidence suggests that improving agricultural diversity or diversified local food production can have positive impact on nutritional outcomes. Actually, diversified local food production is more important in isolated and poorly connected districts or communities. And however, improvements in agriculture alone cannot solve issues related to malnutrition, and other mediating factors also need to be in place, like general education and the nutrition-related education, health, sanitation, and rural infrastructure, and other nutrition-specific interventions. So innovative strategies that integrate agriculture and other nutrition programs stand a better chance of combating the malnutrition problem. And one last thing I'd like to mention here is actually access to data or producing data is very important. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, we face significant problems with data availability. Actually, if you noticed in the earlier slides, we cite data from 5 years old, or 6 years, in some cases even 10 years old data. And so it's very important for government institutions and international organizations, research institutions, and non-governmental institutions to invest in data. Because without data, we cannot make proper evidence-based decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's indeed very interesting to hear what was the theoretical background and the research which lies behind the fact that agricultural diversity can lead to better nutrition outcomes. And I'm very happy to hear personally that this is already documented by the extensive research in the International Food Policy Research Institute, which suggests that indeed dietary diversification is very much linked to the agricultural diversity. I would like to pose this question to the panelists, and probably I'll do that by asking the Georgian counterparts by sharing what is the current status of nutrition in this country. We know that the agricultural production is very low, local food production is quite low. So can we have more insights on what does the nutrition situation in Georgia look like, if we can have the main points of discussion here to pitch in? Thank you, Tamara.
მადლობა შეკითხვისთვის. უპირველეს ყოვლისა მინდა ვთქვა, რომ იყო ძალიან საინტერესო მოხსენება, რომელიც ავლენს მეცნიერულად დადასტურებულ კავშირს დიეტურ მრავალფეროვნებას dietურ მრავალფეროვნებასა
and agricultural development. I'd like to highlight that an important survey was conducted in Georgia as well in 2015 on nutritional issues, and the goal of this survey was to study dietary diversity in Georgia and answer the question, is
როგორი არის მისი ცოდნის დონე ნუტრიციულ საკითხებთან დაკავშირებით და როგორი ჩვენები გააჩნია მას. აუცილებლად მინდა გამოვყო მხოლოდ რამდენიმე მნიშვნელოვანი საკითხი, მიუხედავად იმისა, რომ კვლევამ ბევრი საინტერესო ინფორმაცია მოგვაწოდა. გამოიკვეთა, რომ საქართველოს მოსახლეობის 50% მოკლებულია სრულფასოვანი მრავალფეროვანი საკვების გამოყენებას ყოველდღიურად. ჩვენ შევისწავლეთ FAO-ს მიერ რეკომენდირებული საკვების ჩამონათვალი, რომელიც უზრუნველყოფს ადამიანს მისი სიცოცხლისთვის აუცილებელი ყველა საჭირო ნივთიერებით და კვლევის საფუძველზე გამოვლინდა, რომ აი ამ საკვების ჩამონათვალი only half of the list is consumed by Georgian, by 50% of Georgian families. So from the list of 10 articles, we have discovered that 50% of the population uses only 5 groups of food, and the main emphasis is made mainly at food rich in hydrocarbonates, which means that people do not receive all micronutrients that are absolutely required for food. They use fat, they use hydrocarbonates, and very little proteins. This is caused by different factors, financial situation, access, geography, especially in high mountainous regions. This is a bigger problem. I mean, access and availability. Seasonality is another problem. People mean that they can't buy diverse food in winter and spring, and that's why we decided to investigate this issue deeper and to look at gender issues. And we have discovered that in households that produce some food and have access to the food they produce, and I will mention that in terms of diversity, again, they use 5 groups. In the households, they use even less groups, 4 groups. So it's interesting, it was interesting for us to discover. We can't actually discuss the roots because in the survey we didn't look at the roots, so maybe a deeper survey is needed to look at the roots. Also, what is very important that the survey, the nutritional survey, looked at nutrition of children and characteristics of child nutrition,
გამოვლინდა რომ საკვების გადანაწილება ოჯახში ისეთი მნიშვნელოვანი საკვების მაგალითად როგორიც არის ცილოვანი საკვები რძის პროდუქტის სახით ასევე ხილის მოხმარება არ არის თანაბარი. წარმოიდგინეთ გამოვლინდა რომ ოჯახებში რძის ნაწარმს უფროსები უფრო წარმატებულად მოიხმარენ ვიდრე იგივე ოჯახის ბავშვები, რომლებისთვისაც ეს არის უაღრესად მნიშვნელოვანი საკვები, რამე თუ ეს არის როგორც ცილის, ასევე კალციუმის შემცველი საკვები, და წინა მოხსენებელმა აღნიშნა რამდენად მნიშვნელოვანია ბავშვის განვითარებისთვის უფასოვანი და მრავალფეროვანი კვება და ამაზე ყურადღებას არ გავამახვილებ, უბრალოდ აღნიშნავ, რომ ეს საინტერესო მონაცემებით ასევე მინდა მხოლოდ ერთ საკითხს შევეხო, რაც არის არაჯანსაღი საკვების მოხმარება და უნდა თქვა, რომ აქაც განსაკუთრებით ბავშვებში გამოიკვეთა ჭარბი, ტკბილეულის, გაზიანი სასმელების მოხმარების პროცენტული მაჩვენებლები, რაც შეიძლება უკვე ბროშურაში დეტალურად განვიხილოთ და ასევე პირადი ჰიგიენასთან დაკავშირებული საკითხები, რომელიც პირდაპირ კავშირში არის, ასე ვთქვათ, მრავალფეროვანი კვების და ჯანსაღი კვების დადებით გამოსავალი. მადლობ ყურადღებისთვის.
დიდი მადლობა ქალბატონ თამარ, ძალიან მნიშვნელოვან ასპექტებს შეეხეთ და კარგია რომ ეს კვლევა გვაქვს უკვე Oxfam-ის მიერ ჩატარებული კვლევა და ქალბატონ თამარი ამ კვლევას უძღვებდა თავარი ექსპერტი და ასევე მინდა პარალელი გავავალოთ წინა პანელის მომხსენებლებთან, რომლებმაც ძალიან ხშირად გაუსვეს ხაზი, რომ მნიშვნელოვანია მტკიცებულებების შეგროვება მანამ სანამ დაიწყება ნებისმიერი ინტერვენცია პოლიტიკური ინტერვენციები, თუმცა გარდა ამისა ეს რეალობა არის დღესდღეობით ჩვენთან საქართველოში, რომ დივერსიფიცირებულ საკვებზე არ არის ისეთი ხელმისაწვდომობა, როგორიც უნდა რომ იყოს, თუმცა ძალიან კარგი არის ის, რომ საქართველოში ჯანდაცვის სამინისტროს აქვს უკვე რიგი ინიციატივები იმასთან დაკავშირებით, თუ როგორ შეიძლება სურსათისა და ჯანსაღი კვების მიდგომები პოლიტიკის დონეზე დაარეგულიროს და მე დავსვამდი ესეთ შეკითხვას, რა მიდგომები არსებობს სახელმწიფოში დღესდღეობით, რომელიც საშუალებას მოგვცემდა, რომ ვთქვათ, რომ სახელმწიფო განსაკუთრებით დაავადებათა კონტროლის ცენტრის ქვეშ არსებული უწყება როგორი ხედვა აქვს სახელმწიფოს, როგორ უნდა მოხდეს აი ნუტრიციასთან და ჯანსაღყვებასთან დაკავშირებული პრობლემების დაძლევა, რომელსაც ასევე აქვს მულტისექტორული განზომილება, იმიტომ რომ აქ ვნახეთ, რომ ეს არ არის მხოლოდ სოფლის მეურნეობის სამინისტროს საფიქრალი თემა, აღმოჩნდა, რომ ჯანდაცვის სამინისტროს აქვს გადამწყვეტი როლი ამაში, ისევე როგორც განათლების სამინისტროს და აქედან გამომდინარე მინდა გავაცნოთ ფართო აუდიტორიას, როგორ შეიძლება ესეთი ფართო სპექტრი, რასაც ჯანსაღი კვება ქვია, დაძლეული იქნას სახელმწიფო ხედვის, ერთიანი სახელმწიფო ხედვის შემუშავების გზით. ბატონ რობიზონ, მადლობთ.
Robinson წარმოადგენს დაავადებათა კონტროლისა და საზოგადოებრივი ჯანმრთელობის ცენტრს. დიდი მადლობა მოწვევისთვის, ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი შეხვედრაა, ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი თემებია, რომელსაც საქართველოს და არა მარტო საქართველოს ეს მსოფლიო პრობლემებია. ამ პრობლემებზე ჩვენ დაავადებათა კონტროლის ცენტრი და ჯანმრთელობის დაცვის სამინისტრო, როგორც ახსენეს გამოსვლელმა, მუშაობს ბევრი წლებია და დღეს ძალიან წავედგას თუ რამდენად კონკრეტულად გადაიტანება ეს ნაბიჯები, იმიტომ რომ სახეზე გვაქვს სხვადასხვა პრობლემები ჯანმრთელობის. მინდა გითხრათ, რომ მულტისექტორულია, კი ბატონო, ეს პრობლემა და წარმოუდგენელია, რომ ჯანდაცვის სექტორმა
of Health will not handle the issues. It is cross-sectoral, requires involvement of different agencies, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture, of course, Ministry of Health and others. As health of the population is not an isolated issue. This issue is closely related to nutrition. And in the
world, 65% of mortality is caused by non-communicable diseases, while non-communicable diseases are mainly caused by malnutrition and poor nutrition or unhealthy diet. So, especially for vulnerable groups like children, pregnant women, and lactating mothers, in Georgia we have some data in the world, and we are talking about mortality of children. If we have like 7 million mortality of children under 5, 1/3 is caused by malnutrition. In Georgia in 2009 we have conducted a survey and we've seen that 12% of children face impediment in growth because of malnutrition. So it's very difficult to combat these problems. That's why World Health Organizations recommend and developed strategies, and our country also developed a strategy that was analyzed by a group of experts in Copenhagen, and very soon this strategy will be adopted by our country. So this is multi-sectoral project, I mean the national strategy, and it encompasses many different spheres, and the main principle is good coordinated work of different agencies if we want to achieve the goals that we have set. So some other issues that are noteworthy, for example, when we talk about health, we talk about food security, about food safety. So these are the three components that are interlinked closely, especially when we talk about non-communicable diseases. And in the country we just must have variety and availability of food crops. It should be stable and it should be available to all layers of the population. Very good survey by Oxfam was presented this morning, especially when it comes to availability and access, which is very low in high mountainous regions. And access and availability is geographic but also financial. So, what can the programs do? What programs can be implemented by the government to help vulnerable population to increase availability and access as well, financial and geographic? It's very important to ensure that local population takes the biggest share. Local production takes the biggest share. Because on one hand, availability is important, but on the other hand, food should be healthy, safe. If you have safe food items in the country, then healthy food is not a problem if people are aware about the main principles of healthy diet. So therefore, local production, if it is supported by the country, it will be very good, because in this case we will be able to avoid microbial, chemical contamination of the food.
ჩვენ ამ იმასთან დაკავშირებით, ბევრი ის არის დავუშვათ პოზიციები ამ სტრატეგიული დოკუმენტში, რომლის პროექტს ჩვენ ახლა მოგახსენებთ. აქ არის მოსახლეობის ცნობიერების ამაღლება, ინფორმირება, დავუშვათ სასკოლო კვების გაუმჯობესება, აგრეთვე სკოლამდელი ასაკის ბავშვთა კვების მოწესრიგება და სხვადასხვა. აგრეთვე მონიტორინგი და ზედამხედველობის ერთიანი სისტემის ფორმირება, საკანონმდებლო ბაზის ფორმირება. ვითარდება და სურსათკოპოზიციური მონაცემების ეროვნული ბაზის ფორმირება. იმისაც რომ ჩვენ გავსაზღვროთ თუ რომელი პროდუქტი თუ რომელი პროდუქტი უნდა მივაწოდოთ მოსახლეობას, ანუ შევავსოთ ის სიცარიელე, რომელიც აი მრავალფეროვნების ძირითადი პრინციპი დაუშვათ. ძირითადი კვების არის კვების საკვებ პროდუქტების მრავალფეროვნება. აი ეს პრინციპი რო იყოს დაცული, ამიტომ უნდა ვიცოდეთ თვითონ პროდუქტის სახეობა, ჯგუფები, რომელიც უნდა იყოს შევსებული ამა თუ იმ რეგიონში თუ სხვა სოციალურ-ფენების უზრუნველყოფაში. და პლუს უნდა ვიცოდეთ თითოეული საკვები პროდუქტი
Also, we should know which food item contains which micro and macronutrients to decide whether we need to fortify it. This is an important thing. The system of monitoring I have mentioned, the system of monitoring. We need to know nutritional status of the population. To do that, we need to have a unified surveillance system. At the moment, we have a project, nutritional supervision and monitoring project, financed by US and CDC, US Disease Control and Prevention Centers, and this project is also supported by UN UNICEF. Thank you, Mr. Sasha, because this project is very important for our country. As on one hand, large-scale survey is important to have good representative data, but on the other hand, we have to ensure systemic monitoring of the situation of the nutrition status and to monitor efficiency of interventions to decide if any additional intervention is required. So a project report will be ready by the end of the year. This project is replicable. We can replicate it in other districts or even other countries. And this project was implemented by effort of the US government, UN, UNICEF, and government, local government, and other international organizations. So thank you, Mr. Robinson.
მართლაც მნიშვნელოვანი არის ის ფაქტი, რომ სახელმწიფო აღიქვამს ამ პრობლემის და ამ საკითხის მულტისექტორულობას, ასე რომ ვთქვათ, ანუ თვითონ დაავადებათა კონტროლის ცენტრი, რომელიც ჯანდაცვის სამინისტროს სტრუქტურის ქვეშ არის, მათაც აქვთ ძალიან კარგად გააზრებული, რომ ადგილობრივი პროდუქციის წარმოებას წამყვანი როლი უჭირავს დივერსიფიცირებული და მრავალფეროვანი საკვებზე ხელმისაწვდომობისა. და დიდი მეც გამოვთქვამ, რომ არსებული სტრატეგია, რომელიც ბატონმა რობინსონმა ახსენა, ძალიან მალე იქნება მიღებული მთავრობის მიერ და დანერგილი შესაბამისი აქტივობათა გეგმის მიხედვით. რაც ბატონმა რობინსონმა ილაპარაკა და გაგვაცნო ეს გეგმა, ალბათ მივხვდებოდით და მივხვდებით, რომ არის ძალიან გრძელვადიანი და ძალიან თანმიმდევრული პოლიტიკის მატარებელი. ეს არ შეიძლება და არ უნდა გქონდეს იმის მოლოდინი, რომ ძალიან მალე გვექნება შედეგები. ეს რამდენიმე ათეული წლის სავარაუდოდ გეგმა უნდა იყოს და რაც თავარია, კანონზომიერი უნდა იყოს მთავრობის ხედვა ამასთან დაკავშირებით. თუმცა არსებობს ალბათ რაიმე ტიპის მოკლევადიანი მიდგომებიც, რომელიც ხელშეუწყობდა აი ამ ნუტრიციული და არაჯანსაღი კვების გამოწვევების დაძლევას და მე მინდოდა სიტყვა გადამეცა ბატონ საშა გრაუმანისთვის, რომელიც გაეროს ბავშვთა ფონდის წარმომადგენელია საქართველოში და იქნებ გაგვაცნოს როგორი ტიპის მოკლევადიანი მიდგომები შეიძლება განახორციელოს სახელმწიფომ, რომელიც აი კონკრეტული საკვების ფორტიფიცირების გზით თუ კონკრეტული საკვების ხელშეწყობის გზით მოხდება უკეთესი ჯანსაღი კვების ხელშეწყობა საქართველოში. Please, Mr. Sasha Grauman.
my thanks to Oxfam for arranging this conference. Nutrition, in my view, has not been something that has been very much on the agenda in Georgia, unfortunately. And it's important that that's being discussed, because we should not forget, I mean, Georgia is the country in Europe and Central Asia with the highest level of poverty. And one consequence of that has to do also with malnutrition. Just to underline the argument that Robinson made, the nutrition survey that we supported in 2009, among the things that we found, which we still believe are still very relevant, there are approximately 500,000 children and women suffering from some form of malnutrition in the country. We know that every fourth pregnant or reproductive age woman is anemic. Every fifth child below the age of 5 is anemic. Folic acid deficiency in women goes up to 36%. As Professor Akramov already showed, 11% of the children are stunted, which goes up to 20% in some regions of Georgia. So it's a huge problem for Georgia. And also, as it was said earlier, it's a huge problem in terms of not only for each individual child and the prospects of each individual child to prosper and to develop and grow up, but also for the country as a whole. The economic impact of that, we quantified this at some point. We estimate that there's a loss of $80 million annually as a result of cognitive and physical development deficiencies in children because of productivity losses. There's a substantial overusage of the healthcare system because of the consequences of malnutrition. So this is a huge problem. We have a significant number of child mortality. And maternal mortality is related to micronutrient deficiencies. Now, as it was rightly said, addressing the issue requires both the intensification of local production, but also other measures that need to be, nutritional programs that need to be combined with that. We have been recommending, as a result of the 2009 survey, a package of interventions that include the maternal supplementation, so the supplementation of pregnant women with iron, which is something that the Georgian government has meanwhile introduced. We have been suggesting the same for children. The micronutrient supplementation of children between 6 and 24 months of age with a combination of micronutrients. There has been now an announcement by the ministry lately that this would be provided for the most vulnerable children, which is it's a good step forward. We believe this could even be expanded, given that these types of interventions are very cheap. The interventions like the micronutrient supplementation for children, for instance, is something that costs $5 for 18 months for the entire time that children would need that. So it's highly cost-effective measures that can be taken. Other issues that we believe need to be looked at is the promotion of breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding in the first 6 months of life. Georgia has very low breastfeeding rates. Approximately only every second woman is exclusively breastfeeding. Which is also to do with the fact that the law on the protection of breastfeeding is not very well enforced in Georgia. That's something in terms of enforcement that needs to be supported. And then, as it was said, the issue of fortification has been discussed for a long time. It has been in plans, including the NCDC strategy, which very much goes along with the type of recommendations we are making, and we believe the strategy that should soon be implemented, because it was developed already a couple of years ago, and we would urge the government to adopt that. But with the concrete issue of fortification, a very cost-effective and very effective way of addressing malnutrition, micronutrient deficiency is the fortification of flour with iron and folic acid. It's practiced worldwide, over 80 countries in the world are fortifying flour. And especially in a country like Georgia, where 60% of the caloric intake comes from wheat flour, this would be a highly efficient measure to fortify the flour. It's an easy process. It's again very cheap. It costs 28 cents per ton of wheat flour to do the fortification. So it's something we would urge the government to consider in order to address these deficiencies. And it has been in plans of the government previously, as it rightly was pointed out by Dr. Akramov. It's a human rights issue. Good nutrition is a human rights issue, and we are glad that Georgia has put the fortification of wheat flour in its National Human Rights Action Plan for this year, which was just adopted last week. But it was also in the last National Human Rights Action Plan, and it was still not implemented. So we really would urge the government to take action on those things, because with every day that the issues are not being addressed, the country loses. And it loses significantly in terms of for every individual child, but also for society as a whole. And I think we have it in our hand, and rightly so. It's a multi-sectoral issues between the Ministry of Health and Agriculture to make progress on these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Grauman. Really interesting to see what can be done in terms of both long-term and short-term visions, and I'm happy to hear that there can be some other solutions which should be complementary to supporting the local food production as well. And it was rightly mentioned that in Georgian diet, the intake of bread and wheat products exceeds 2 times than the average normal requirement of the general human being. So we consume more bread than it is needed. So I think it's a right strategy to focus on bread and flour fortification in order to provide with all the important micronutrients that is needed for the person's development. And also, I would also like to highlight the fact that the milk production, which we are right now really lagging behind in terms of producing raw milk, and the majority of milk products are produced by the milk powder. I assume it also really hinders the absorption of all the important micro and macronutrients that is needed, and which can only be found in the raw milk. So these are the immediate challenges that we are facing as a country, and it needs both long-term and short-term vision, as it seems. And I really do hope that the government, especially the Ministry of Health, will take up this issue very seriously, and we will soon see the national strategy on nutrition and food that can be effectively implemented in the years to come. However, our neighboring country, Armenia, they already have adopted the healthy lifestyle strategy, which I'm really happy to share today with the help of Mr. Hovsep Hovsannisian, who would be talking about the main directions and aspects of the healthy lifestyle strategy. And I congratulate as well Armenia, our neighbor, for having this strategy already in place. And would you please share with us what are the main directions and main deliverables, especially from the point of view of access to diversified food?
So, good morning. Let me on behalf of the Ministry of Health of Armenia to thank for the organization of this wonderful conference and involving all of us. I do hope that I hope that this Can you hear me? So I'll talk. Yes, channel number 3. Can you hear me? I'll talk to
կարգի մսընդ
So healthy lifestyle project, I'll talk about that, which has been approved by the government program, and the point of that is to set certain rules of healthy lifestyle, and it's clear that healthy lifestyle is not just a nutrition, it's a physical activity, it's quality nutrition, and a lot of other components related to children, etc. Now, I would like to stress those issues that are related to healthy diet and healthy nutrition. So it is planned naturally by the decision of the government. There is an action plan set with its timetable and the responsible parties that it has to be implemented. I would like to speak about a few of those activities. For example, one of them, today we are carrying out, and there is a special task force that was put together by the order of the Minister of Health in order to make changes in the law on advertising. It is planned to have that law and forbid advertising in those places where children are located or next to schools and kindergartens, to forbid advertising of sweet and sweet beverages with gas, etc. Another thing which our organization does is National CDC. This is development of methodology of non-healthy diet. Here really there is not much to boast about. We just started those activities. Another activity, it's clear that within the frame of this project, the Ministry of Health is trying to cooperate with different agencies, and as you saw in the film, the Deputy Minister of Health was speaking, and an MOU has been signed about with the Alliance of Mothers and Child's Health. And the representatives of this alliance are in this hall, and within the frame of this MOU, certain actions will be taken. Today, we're already planning to develop the methodology of school nutrition to find out what's going on in that field of provision of food in the schools. What else I wanted to tell about nutrition? Let's talk a little bit about the diseases that are coming due to malnutrition. And again, there is a decision of government which exists, but the action plan is still not implemented. But we need to revise this list of activities, and we need to find out the reasons of those diseases due to malnutrition, to submit the results to the society. And there is a joint decree of Ministry of Health and Ministry of Agriculture to carry out this monitoring. I'm talking about salt, food salt, and we have been doing monitoring within the frame of the previous project, but that project is completed already. So after carrying out those activities, we'll find out the morbidity rate and the reasons and the issues that have to be tackled. And one more thing, the problems of Republic of Armenia in terms of nutrition. In terms of correct organization of nutrition, is the main problem is the poor awareness of population, because people don't understand. And the survey done with Oxfam also showed that about 60% of people are not aware about correct nutrition. Another thing is, another issue is, and this is just maybe a piece of humor, that Armenians as well as Georgians, they like to really take tasty food and stick to their national traditions and habits, and they don't want to really give up certain type of food that they have been consuming all the time. And today we have the problems that we have. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting to see the even more dimensions of nutrition, which goes to awareness and some cultural dimensions as well. It's indeed we can say that we have similar problems in terms of traditional food, which is very tasty but not very healthy. So we have lots of directions to work on. But as a wrap up, I would like to underline once more to the fact that food is indeed in each and every culture, and we like it or not, it's the part of everyone's identity and everyone's lifestyle. So the food is a very personal thing, and it goes to being very political as well sometimes. So I encourage everyone to think through all these things and support Oxfam as well into our cause of combating and trying to institutionalize some of the food security strategies, which will help ultimately to have better nutrition for all. As my organizers are notifying me, our time is up for the panel presentations. We would have a short coffee break now, and after that we would welcome some of the remarks and questions that arise as a result of our presentations. Thank you, and see you in 15 minutes. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming back. Just a very brief announcement. Mr. Robinson Tiklauri had to leave because of the urgent meeting, but I hope that somebody from National Disease Control Center is in the audience, and if there is a need and questions directed to the National Disease Control Center, Mr. Sudan can answer those questions. So I rely on the participant in the audience. So if the questions would relate to a National Disease Control Center activities in Georgia, I hope that we would still get some initial answers from the audience. The floor is open. Please, Margarita.
Thank you very much for the very interesting presentations and introducing all related issues with regard to nutrition and healthy food. My question is related to flour fortification, because in Armenia we know that it raised a big noise around flour fortification, its negative impact on the population, and people were bringing a lot of arguments with regard that a lot of European countries actually refused using they are not fortifying flour, and why we are going to put something, add some, stuff into our bread. If it's the issue, then you have to diversify and split. For example, if there are people who really need it, then you need to sell it separately. So there was a big noise actually around this flour fortification, but you mentioned, I guess, that this is very important for the nutrition. Yes. So my question is with regard to whether it's good or bad, and what are and how many countries in the world, if it exists, are using that, and what is the positive impact on the nutrition and on the health of the people? Thank you.
Yes, please, Mr. Sasha Coleman.
Yeah, thanks for this question. I heard about this issue in Armenia on this. Now, flour fortification is probably one of the most widely practiced nutrition interventions for decades. One of the first ones to introduce that, I think, were the United States in World War II. Since that time, flour fortification has been practiced. It's now being practiced in over 80 countries worldwide. And some countries fortify flour, others maize or whatever is the main staple food. The reason for using flour is simply because it is so widely used. So by fortifying flour, you reach the entire population. That makes it so effective. And basically you add iron and folic acid to it. These are some countries also add other vitamins, micronutrients, but most commonly you add iron and folic acid. In fact, what happens is that technologically, and I'm not in the milling business, so I'm not an expert on this, but wheat flour, when it is milled, it's losing the natural nutrients that are in there. You know, because the nutrients in grain are in these outer parts, which you lose when you mill it until it's white. That's why you are supposed to eat whole wheat bread. The white flour loses all of that. Essentially, you're just putting it back. You're just putting a lot of the nutrients back into the flour that are lost in the milling process. So that's basically it. So it's definitely, it is very effective. That's why countries have been using it for years. Now the need for that is different in different countries. In many European countries not necessarily do it. I think the United Kingdom is doing it. Others don't do it. It depends on the need. In Europe, generally, a lot of the food is fortified. I mean, if children eat these cereals for breakfast, you have all these vitamins and all that stuff is in those breakfast cereals, you know. But for countries that don't have that or have a large share of poor people, putting this into the flour is the easiest way, and it's cheap. It's very cheap.
Sorry. Please, you can add the... Sorry? Yes, please. Go ahead, please. კი ბატონო, დიახ, პასუხეთ.
Yes, very good question, because the problem of fortification is important, and we talk not about iron alone, but we talk about, for example, fortification of salt, iodine, and, for example, any side effects. But in the world, everyone, all countries fortify salt with iodine, even Georgia, iodine and other microelements, and there is a law. And Mr. Sasha actually mentioned, and in 80 countries, yes, they do fortify wheat flour, and there is law allowing and actually making it compulsory. But by the way, in Georgia, in 2009, together with UNICEF, we have conducted nutritional survey, national survey, and we have discovered in reproductive age women highest levels of anemia related to iron deficiency and related to deficiency of folic acid. And Mr. Robinson mentioned that currently in Tbilisi they are implementing a survey in Tbilisi, Ajara and Samegrelo in a certain age group of children and pregnant women to discover deficiency of iron and folic acid. Also, we work on iodine deficiency issues. By the end of this year, we will have a full picture. Do we have or do we not have iron, folic acid and iodine deficiency, and do we need to adopt the law or not? So the answer will be in the end of the year. Yes, please, but introduce yourself, please. I'm Shota. I actually lecture food security. at the university. I work for 20 years now on this issue, and I'm very pleased that this meeting takes place today in Georgia and at a very high level. And thank you very much for that. To Oxfam for inviting me to this meeting. Thank you very much. I would like to say a few words. It has been mentioned here that our population is malnourished. 50% do not have proper intake of proteins. Well, that's very interesting. Thank you for conducting this service. Thank you, Tamar, for bringing it to our notice. But nevertheless, we have some data from FAO. According to FAO, 80% of people in Georgia are malnutrition. 80% is poor, 44% are below poor, and extreme poor. Poor and extreme poor receive 2,250 calories, but according to FAO, unhealthy calories, 2,500 and 3,000 is the amount of calories that an adult should receive. Majority of them receive only 1,600 calories. Can you imagine? Even when a person sleeps, a person spends 1,700 calories. So can you imagine the intake of 1,600 calories? It means undernutrition, acute undernutrition, and we have 35% of population undernourished. So if you look at these figures in more detail, you will see that 70% of their food ratio is bread. And it was mentioned here, and it was mentioned very well, that bread is poor in proteins, poor in vitamins, poor in microelements. That's why bear in mind those figures when you make your decisions, because practice shows, I made my own observations since 1990 until now, and food ratio of our population has not changed, diet has not changed, although during these 3 years conditions have changed. People receive a lot of financial assistance, pensions were increased and actually doubled, some vulnerability allowances, so I'm not going to list all those things, but people should have changed their diet, but they have not. And if you look at those 4 years, diet has not changed. What do I mean? Just about malnutrition. Instead of 200 grams of meat, they receive from 70 to 60 grams. Milk, only 350 grams. Fruit, 210 grams, only 100 grams. Vegetables, 370 grams, they receive only 150 grams. So this means that today they are not eating properly. And another thing is very important. During those 4 years, the dynamic is very horizontal. It does not change for any group of food. I mean the quantity of intake for meat or dairy. This means that our population is not aware of healthy nutrition, and they think that receiving bread, 70% of their food intake is bread, and they are not hungry. They don't know that it is hidden hunger, and this hidden hunger causes big problems. 70% of diseases are caused by malnutrition, not undernutrition, but malnutrition. So hidden hunger is a problem. Therefore, we have to work on awareness in schools, in kindergartens, to explain how people should feed themselves and their dear ones. So let's think about it. Let's organize more meetings like that, because it is very useful. It is very useful and brings good results. Thank you very much, Mr. Shota. Thank you for your question. You indeed raised important issues. Hidden hunger. In Georgia, hunger, to some extent, we can say, does not exist, excuse me. Unfortunately, Georgia is not on the list of undernourished countries, but it was many years ago. But when it comes to hidden hunger, when people intake some food and believe that they are well fed, because this food is not diversified, we have mono diet, and that's what we are talking about in our nutrition component. That nutrition and healthy food intake means intake of diversified food and not of mono food. Thank you very much. Your intervention was valuable. Mrs. Keti Getiashvili, Oxfam. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank experts on the panel for very interesting speeches. Mr. Akramov, this question is to you. You gave us very reliable statistics on nutrition and its influence over different non-communicable diseases, over mortality rate. And I would like to hear from you. Do you have any statistics about influence of nutrition for expected length of life? If we look at underdeveloped countries, we have a lot of examples that life expectancy increased compared to the previous years. In Georgia and in post-Soviet countries, we did have some statistics on life expectancy. We knew that, for example, age 75 was normal life expectancy for women, 70 for men, and this was quite old statistics. What do we have today? In the post-Soviet countries, what is the life expectancy, and what are the factors that caused increase of life expectancy in underdeveloped countries? Is it dependent only on nutrition, or there are other factors that influence life expectancy?
Thank you for a very interesting question. And actually, we don't have any, at least I can't provide you now any direct evidence on the link between nutrition and life expectancy, but I'm sure there is a link, but I can't give you, from our research. There are a lot of other research which provides some evidence on that. But obviously we can expect that there is a link between the nutrition and life expectancy. But most of the research, actually, I cited from Global Nutrition Report. By the way, is published by International Food Policy Research Institute every year. And so if you visit the website, which is actually www.globalnutritionreport.org, actually you can find a lot of information about linkages between nutrition and different aspects of human life and economic implications and so on. But unfortunately, I can't give you an answer on that because you are asking, I guess, about scientific evidence. So probably it exists, and yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Akramov. A very interesting question indeed, and I'm sure some other dimensions of the industrialized life that we are living in also contributes to the lives of people, including right now we are facing the main death of today's is the non-communicable diseases, whereas in the past centuries we had other epidemics, which was also one of the reasons of death. So we can assume that right now the main challenge for the life expectancy is the non-communicable diseases, which can be very well tackled by the proper nutrition. Yes, please.
And probably, you know, World Health Organization provides statistics on disability-adjusted life expectancy. And there is some research on the linkages between nutrition and disability-adjusted life expectancy. And yeah, there is positive link, of course, but I can't give you numbers at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Please, Benoit Trudel from Oxfam. Thanks.
Thank you very much to the panel. I'm very happy to hear the inputs of the different panelists. So thank you so much for that. Food security and nutrition are both very complex, and the challenge that we have is that when we're talking about policies, programs, implementation, it really requires multi-sectoral approaches. So we highlighted that this morning with Mr. Gocha, and there is the plan to see inter-ministerial working group with agriculture to look at food security. From Mr. Robinson, we heard similar proposition saying that this healthy nutrition strategy would soon be implemented and that there would be different agencies to cooperate. So I guess my question would be on around what is being proposed. Do we have any firm ideas around the tables when we say different agencies? Are we thinking the Ministry of Agriculture? Are we thinking also that this would include civil society? Is there anything that's concrete? You know, if the strategy will be implemented so soon, then there should be some mechanism on how these different agencies will be cooperating. And unfortunately, I think that I don't know if you have any idea on...
Thanks, Benoit, for this question. And I think from the audience, we can have some of the inputs which Benoit... So Maya Baidauri from Ministry of Health, please.
დიდი მადლობა. მე გახლავართ მარინა ბაიდაური, ჯანდაცვის სამინისტროს ჯანმრთელობის დაცვის დეპარტამენტის წარმომადგენელი და მინდა ძალიან მოკლედ თვითოულად
very briefly to answer some questions about activities to be implemented by the government. And especially on those issues that have been raised here. When it comes to multi-sectoral cooperation on nutrition, I would like to mention that the Prime Minister tasked the Ministry of Agriculture to create multi-sectoral working group, and this group was established. And by the way, Ministry of Health is an active member of this group, of this working group. Also, there are people from Ministry of Education, the government administration, and NGOs. And this group has a task to elaborate a plan on school feeding and to approve this plan. The first draft of this document is already prepared, and This document describes how the problem can be resolved in schools and in kindergartens, also the roles and responsibilities of each agency, and of course the government will be responsible for overall implementation of this action plan. So here we are talking about child nutrition. Second, Ministry of Health has elaborated and approved, and it is available at website of Ministry of Health, guidelines for healthy food in schools. There are menus, there are recommendations, there are additional comments with regards to food that has to be served in schools. This document is of an advisory nature. It is not a compulsory document, but those who'd like to actually introduce healthy food in their schools, they can use this document. This document was elaborated based on international documents, in particular recommendations for British schools, and similar documents are elaborated and approved for kindergartens as well. And UNICEF helped us a lot. They translated documents for us, also offered us some technical assistance, and very soon these documents will be finally approved. So, this is about child nutrition. When it comes to fortification, I would like to say that the Ministry of Health in 2007 has published regulations for fortification, which in 2014 was approved by the governmental decree, and these are prepared based on international recommendations. And it says that fortification may be done for those food that are broadly used in the country. At the moment, we are talking about flour fortification, compulsory flour fortification. But at the same time, this document also says that the decision will be made only if and when it is proved that there is deficiency of these nutrients in population, but it has to be proved by clinical research. So that's why the Ministry of Health is now looking forward to the results of the clinical research, because otherwise we cannot approve fortification of wheat flour. And also there was another recommendation of UNICEF. We started state program for iron and folic acid for pregnant women and children under 24 months, and that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Marina, for a comprehensive answer. I'm very happy this group exists, and I would like to highlight that we would be happy to cooperate with this group. We would be happy to meet. If there are any more questions, please.
Կարեն Չիլինգարյան,
NGO.
Այստեղ հնչեց այն խնդիրը, որ
You mentioned the question that
կապված ալորի հարստացման հետ, այսինքն ֆոլաթութներով հարստացման հետ, խնդիրը խնդիրը կայանում է նրանով, որ մեզ մոտ դա օրենքով պետք է հաստատվեր, ընդունվեր այդ հարստացումը, եւ քանի որ
in the law it was formulated as follows: 30 producers of 30 tons and more must fortify the flour at least by 80%. Since in Armenia produces of 30 tons and more mostly account for 90% of all produced flour. So most flour will be fortified, and it was decreed so that if they breach the law, they will be penalized seriously. But if instead of 80% they would fortify 100%, this wouldn't be considered an offense. So there is a concern that they may notify entire stock of flour. Bread producers, when they buy flour, wouldn't buy one type of flour or other type of flour. To make their life easier, they would buy the flour which is most available. So the requirement of fortification, it's necessary for pregnant women, small children, but the other consumers have to use this flour which they may not like to consume. So the rights of the consumers are violated. That's why there was an action held in protest of flour fortification. If it were properly presented, not strictly mandatory, then perhaps this law would be adopted, but since it was done as I described it, this created problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this very interesting inputs. Yes, please.
From Hygiene and Medical Environment Institute Deputy Director. I would like to mention that our institute always implemented activities related to food safety and food security. In our institute, we have developed a basic normative act, which is still relevant in Georgia. In particular norms for child feeding, also physiological norms for feeding in schools and kindergartens, and decree on fortification. So our institute works on it because we are the ones who have developed norms for Ministry of Defense, norms for children, summer camps, for Tbilisi kindergartens, for other institutions. So therefore, our main question was to Mr. Robinson, and unfortunately Mr. Robinson left. So my question is as follows. When important strategies like this are being developed in the country, I mean food security strategies and food security and nutrition strategies, I think before we send this document to foreign experts and before we invite foreign experts and talk to them about it, I think and I believe local specialists should be consulted in the first place. The Ministry of Health, Labour and Social Affairs, there are departments that actively cooperate with us. We are members of the working group. I personally represent, I am an expert of the Ministry of Health on nutrition issues, and it is very sad that such an important document has not been discussed with us. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. Only if you have finished your comment. The named strategy is not approved yet. It's only very, very first draft, and I do believe you will have a chance to participate. I'm sorry Mr. Robinson is not here to answer your question, but I do hope that there is a chance to get you involved. One more question that I wanted to ask. It's very important when when we talk about fortification as a short-term response to nutrition issues. Before we continue, and before I pass floor to Mr. Jonathan Paddyfoot, who has a question, I would like to make a comment to Mr. Akramov's presentation. What can be done at the local level? How can we improve nutrition through improving local production? And it was mentioned, and example from Asian countries was given. It is difficult for Asian countries to say no to production of cotton, for example, because it is cash crop, but they have no more land. Yes, they produce cotton as a cash crop, and they don't have any more land to produce food crops. This problem is not relevant to Georgia to such a big extent. However, I can give you other examples. Hazelnut. Hazelnut is a very important cash crop because it's export, but we cannot focus only on hazelnut because hazelnut does not give us all nutrients, as people should think about meat, dairy products, and fruits. So as a moderator, I wanted to highlight this issue. So when we think about it, we have to answer some questions. What do we want agriculture for? For development of economy or for proper nutrition and food security? So this was just my little intervention, and Mr. Jonathan Paddyfoot had a question. Please, Mr. Jonathan Paddyfoot, floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks for that. And many of the comments that we've heard this afternoon are about the supply side, essentially, about how do we supply nutrition. And I'm wondering, you have this wonderful logo up there that says local production healthy food. Where is the demand side? When are the people walking into the shops going to start buying a better balance of food? And I was really surprised to hear that, in some cases food is already on the table in the kitchen and the kids are not eating it. When is the understanding of the importance of a balanced diet going to be in the minds of the consumer? How is that going to happen? And I would ask that both of Georgia and Armenia. What are the plans afoot for public health education around buying healthy food?
Thank you, Jonathan, for the question. Probably Ms. Tamar Manjavidze can answer this. Thank you.
ძალიან დიდი მადლობა. ეს არის არაჩვეულებრივი შეკითხვა.
Much indeed, an excellent question. I wanted to make a comment. I wanted to add to Mrs. Marina's comment, and actually Mr. Paddyfoot asked the question that I wanted to answer before he asked this question. When we talk about food diversity problem in the country, the question of education is the key. When we talk about education, and we say that public awareness should be increased, doctors have to play a crucial role. The system of healthcare is responsible for health of children and especially of preschool children. Mr. Sasha Grauman spoke about it, and everyone who works in Georgia knows that children under 5 are our biggest concern, because we have big problems with children under 5, their health and their nutrition. And also we are responsible for health of pregnant and lactating mothers, especially giving information to them, and our people do not know, they do not understand, and the information they have is wrong. Their food and eating habits are wrong. And last year the Ministry Ministry of Health, together with UNICEF, conducted home visit program piloting, and the most important component was nutrition component. And we spoke with specialists of primary healthcare specialists who have direct contact with the local population, and their function is to inform population accordingly, including information about nutrition. So we gave them special guidelines as to how they should feed their children and pregnant women correctly, and women of reproductive health. As far as I know, this program will be implemented at a larger scale, and it will contribute greatly to the issue. Now, talking about the guidelines, the Ministry has approved guidelines on nutrition of children under 2, and also, based on those guidelines, they have elaborated behavior protocols, and nutrition knowledge is one of the most important components of it. This is an official document, and together with those guidelines that were mentioned by Mrs. Marina Baidauri, this is one big leap ahead, I would like to say. But we don't have a result, and this is a fact, we don't have a result. This means that issues that are included in the guidelines by scientists have not reached broader layers of population yet, and this is one of the problems alongside all other problems. And thank you for a very good question. The healthcare system should not be isolated when we talk about increasing of public awareness, but on the other hand should take the lead. We have families where food is available and children don't eat it, where food is available and women don't eat it. Why? Parents don't know, children don't know. Our survey did not give us room to investigate root causes, but the previous speaker mentioned about 80% of people having hidden hunger in Georgia, according to another survey. We did not look at calories, we looked at intake of diversified food, and that's why we said 50%. We did not count calories. If we do, we may have different results, but it's again for another survey to do it. But getting back to your question, public awareness, public education is the most important, because we scientists, we politicians, we can make excellent decisions, but no one is going to run with a spoon after each child. We can't do it. But this is the decision that has to be done by the family member. But to do that, they should be aware, and awareness should be increased by the state.
We are running back out of time, but I will allow our Armenian counterpart to answer to this similar question. Please, from the
thank you so much. My colleague from Georgia excellently prescribed its outstanding response. But just to complement what is done in Armenia regarding health education and public health education, I totally agree as a pediatrician and public health specialist that our medical system, unfortunately, putting less attention to education and particularly pediatricians. And within the UNICEF World Vision USAID funded program, there was created over 100 health sort of parental resource centers within the ambulatories and polyclinics, which are stressing out the importance of nutrition, specifically nutrition and health promotional activities in the country. And all over the country, pediatricians have been trained on nutrition and generally nutrition assessment evaluation stuff, which is which predominantly is important and first step to identify the issues and go further for sort of overcoming the problem. And my colleague here was one of the, from the Maternal and Child Health Alliance, and generally as a pediatrician, was one of the members of developing the guidelines. Probably she will continue how it was developed. We have a guidelines predominantly for parents and for medical doctors and for nurses regarding nutrition and nutritional assessment and how to manage the cases related to malnutrition.
Thank you very much. I'm being notified by my organizers that the time is really up and we are really heading ahead of the time. So I'll hand over to Benoit Trudel just to give us the final remarks towards the end of this panel. Thank you, Benoit.
So thank you. It's always so rewarding to see the interest that there is in these kinds of discussions, and today's a really good starting point for us. I would actually like to invite Ms. Margarita Hakobian, the Oxfam in Armenia country director, to give the short closing remark, and then I will come back with just some final words.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Benoit. I think everybody enjoyed this very interesting, very constructive discussions that we started in the morning, and until now we don't want to leave. But time is approaching actually end for our today's session. And I would like, first of all, to thank everybody who participated very actively, starting from our government representatives, experts, and everybody who contributed to this very interesting discussions and outcome result-oriented our discussions. So I think we covered during these two in the afternoon, in the early morning, in the afternoon sessions, very interesting, important points. First was related to the policies, how policies are supporting local production, and especially how it's important, smallholders, small farmers' involvement in these policy shaping processes. And here we heard very interesting, important points that why it's important to invest in smallholders, because, and the answer was that, first of all, we are actually supporting and we are contributing to the poverty reduction in the country. They are key players in the local production and as well as generating income for them and of course addressing food security issues. I think that's really very important and interesting discussion, and everybody, especially in the light of this region where Armenia and Georgia has very commonalities in terms of, as inherited from the Soviet system and have a lot of commonalities in terms of the food security issues. They pass the same processes, and these commonalities gives us a lot of space in order to develop the same strategy, the same approaches which is applicable to both or adjusting to the context. And even, the policymakers also raised the issues and introduced their strategies and their vision, which again was very similar to what is planned to do in Armenia and in Georgia, and how we can even together jointly collaborating, we can also reduce the poverty and ensure food security in the countries and also boost local production. And in the afternoon session, again, right now, I can see that nobody wants to leave, and we started very constructive discussion on nutrition, which is part of one of the key things of the food security and nutrition. Here also a lot of experts introduced that how it's important, nutrition as a part of food security, how it's important, what is the situation in the malnutrition, how it affects the children, especially the pregnant or feeding women. I think that's of course very important issues raised here, and this gives me the insight that what we are doing right now in terms of our food security project, which is a regional project, it's very important, it's very relevant. The issues we are tackling, the issues we are raising, the activities we are doing or engaging the governments in policy shaping or participation of civil society organizations, especially policy shaping processes. For example, both in Armenia and Georgia, we contributed to sustainable agriculture strategy development or incorporating food security into national strategies. languages. This is fantastic job, and I hope that this collaboration will continue and will ensure that both Armenia and Georgia will benefit from this, and in future will be self-sufficient, having our local production and supporting small farmers, and eventually will manage to reduce or eliminate poverty in the country. Thank you.
Okay, I will be brief. I would like to entice you to stay with us. Today from 5 o'clock, in just a few minutes, we will have a reception. So this will be a chance for us to network and continue some of the discussions, some of the questions that maybe you didn't have the chance to ask to the panelists. So it will be right here outside. It will start shortly. So the reception. I would also very much like for every one of you to join us tomorrow. We have an interesting day, 2-panel discussion. The first one will be looking at the effective policy implementation and monitoring systems. So I think we've touched on some of that today. We'll look at some of the research that we've done, cooperation with the FAO, FSN data collection and monitoring, the role of civil society. So it would be interesting, because this is, I think, where both Armenia and Georgia are in their policy development and implementation stages. The last panel will be on gender. So when we talk about gender mainstreaming and policies, implementation, what does that mean? What does that look like? What could be some elements of programs that we could put in place that would really make a difference and empower women? So we'll have those 2 sessions, and in between those, we will also have some degustation corner of Georgian local food products. So with different, I won't tell you which ones. It's a surprise. Different food products from Georgia for you to taste, and also talk and exchange with some producers in Georgia and see what their realities are like. So please stay with us for the reception. Thank you very much to the panel again, Nino. Thank you very much. Cheers.